scientific evidence to support the idea that we all came from a rock 4.6 billion years ago, which is precisely what evolution boils down to if you get rid of all the big words and the fluff and the feathers, okay? All evidence shown to kids in textbooks as evidence for evolution has been proven wrong. Gill slits, horse evolution, etc. Your kids are being lied to. My position is, if there is evidence for a theory, please show it to me. Just don't lie to the kids. There's an excellent book showing 15 of the known lies in the textbooks. I cover 28 of them on my videotape number 4 right there on the table, and my material is not copyrighted. So you skeptics, if you want to buy my tapes, you can copy it, send it back, get your money back. Okay, but don't ask me to loan it to you, okay? That's my position. My position is the citizens of Arkansas should pass and enforce legislation banning lies from textbooks and lying teachers from the classroom. Teachers who lie to students in order to get them to believe a theory should be fired immediately. They should get an honest job. These 6 things that the Lord hate: a lying tongue. It's one of the things God hates, okay? The Bible says all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire, which burneth with fire and brimstone. This is the second death. So, my position is very simple. I like science. I'm not against science. I'm not against education. My mother retired from teaching public school. My brother's in his 34th year teaching school. There are many good, godly teachers in the system. But folks, there is no evidence whatsoever for this theory of evolution that we're teaching our kids, and it's time we make the schools teach the truth. Now, if you want them to believe you came from a rock, I can understand that, okay? And if you have some evidence for that, then please show it to me. But don't lie to the kids. And all we have so far, and I'll be covering that tonight at the church, or if you get my video number 4, where we cover 2.5 hours of lies in the textbooks, you'll see some of the things that kids have to face every day, and they're going to face them tomorrow at the University of Central Arkansas in the textbooks. Bring me the biology textbooks in your high school or junior high or college here in this area. I will show you the pages that need to be torn out. It's very simple. I was in a debate a few months ago at the University of West Florida, and I mentioned if the textbook says the embryo has gill slits, cut the page out. It's not true. You don't need to buy a whole new book. The rest of the book's got a lot of good science in it. Just cut that page out. One professor got up and he said, I don't think we ought to deface textbooks. I said, sir, if you were teaching mathematics and you found a page that said 2 plus 2 is 5, what would you do? He said, I would tell the students to mark out the wrong answer and write in the correct answer. I said, you would deface a textbook? I said, now, sir, since you teach biology, if you come across the page that says the embryo has gill slits, and you know that idea was made up by Ernst Haeckel in 1869, it was proven wrong in 1874. He even held a trial at the University of Jena. He admitted he lied. He was fraud, okay? Would you have the students fix that page? He said, no. I said, then, sir, you are a hypocrite. And you ought to get an honest job picking peaches or changing tires, but you ought to quit lying to your kids in your classroom, okay? Jim Holt from Springdale, Arkansas, up in that northwest Arkansas, and Jim Bob Duger and I worked very hard to put together a bill last year that said the state of Arkansas will not use tax dollars to purchase materials that contain knowingly fraudulent information. It almost passed the House of Representatives, and we're going to try it again this year, and we're going to try it again every year until somebody gets the message. So, I want to go on record as saying I love science, I'm not anti-science, I'm not anti-schools. I just think the lies ought to be taken out of the books, and I don't know of anything to support the evolution theory, and I want to see the evidence so badly that we've been for about 10 years now offering $250,000 if somebody's got some real scientific evidence for evolution. I want to see it real bad. Thank you so much.
All right, and thank you very much. That was very informative. Incidentally, I did a little research on one of the matters you mentioned. There is actually a website, http://www.coccyx.com, COCCYX. No, I think it's org, not com. Yeah, it's not a commercial site. But it's a page put out with information on an operation called coccygectomy. It's removal of the coccyx. It actually was done to a friend of mine, a fellow graduate student who had broken hers during childbirth. And it's not particularly common surgery. but it is done. There's a listing of a number of doctors who perform it, usually as treatment for intractable pain, pain that won't go away. So now that you have this offer that you'll pay to have someone's coccyx removed, do you mind if I give your name and number to... All right, ask... the condition's called coccydynia. That's coccydynia. It's a medical condition where misalignment of the coccyx causes pain that can range from mild discomfort to continuous agony. And the success rate is about 90%. It takes a while to recover, but people generally do get better. I think my friend's certain vital functions ended up coming out unimpaired, although I couldn't really ask direct. You understand. I couldn't really ask that. All right. I have a question now that's come up in my reading. All too often, we see illustrations of the evolutionary process as being something like this. You have over on the left, you have Bonzo the chimp, and Oog the ape man is over near there, and then you have Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon and some naked guy over on the right. And this picture of how evolution in general and human evolution progresses has been attacked very stridently by authors like Jonathan Wells, as well as other creationist authors probably going back to George McCready Price in the 1920s. Well, I promise never to teach that human evolution happened this way. And when you get into when you read, as I have read, I have gone over to Central Baptist College Library and done some reading of the other side's position on human evolution. The creation literature talks a great deal about how all life is divided up into individually created kinds. And Dr. Hovind gave a very fine example of how these work. You can have a dog, a wolf, and a coyote, and sure, maybe there's been a little bit of change. All three of those might have evolved from a common dog-like ancestor, but it was still a dog, not a rutabaga or some such. And while you'll find, if you read the creation literature, that there's some debate as to exactly how you should define what a kind is, in most cases it's quite obvious. On the left, you have the skull of a chimp. On the right, you have the skull of a human. And these clearly belong to different created kinds. In fact, in case any of the skeptics in here doubt my word, I brought a replica. This is not an actual skull. Actually, it is. This is all that's left of the last person I caught cheating on one of my exams. Right here. And this guy might have played defensive backfield for a football team once. Actually, no, I take that back. This is a chimpanzee skull, replica. Again, we don't have actual bone. And it's quite obvious that they're quite different. And, there cannot be any missing links between them if the creationist view of human origins is true. And there have been a number of fossils that have been found that have turned up in various parts in the world, Java Man, Lucy, Cro-Magnon, things like that. And if creation science is correct, and this is what puzzles me a little bit, there cannot be missing links between ape kind and mankind. Everything that we find must be either an ape or a human. And this has been the position of many of the authorities I've read, of people like Marvin Lubenow, whose book is available for purchase on Dr. Hovind's website, or Jack Cuozzo, author of a very fine book that's also available for purchase. But when I started looking into this, I started running into some difficulties. In the trade, we often refer to fossils by catalog numbers. So this is skull KNMER 1470. Looking a little stepped on, of course. I do hope I look that good in 6,000 years. And I'd like to compare it with another skull, skull ZKD-E3, that was also found quite some time ago. And as it happens, I have replicas available of both of these. The originals are carefully kept, but replicas are generally available for study. And for the record, this one at least I purchased with my own funds, so your tax dollars did not go into using this as an indoctrination tool. You're welcome. So if we compare these, as we know, they must be either clearly ape or clearly human. There was a creationist writing in the 70s, it might have been Kelly Seagraves, I forget, who mentioned that the more difficult it is to determine the boundaries between created kinds, the more evolution is going to look like as if it's true. So it should be obvious as to what is an ape and what is a man. If you purchase this book by Jack Cuozzo called Buried Alive, he is I believe he's an orthodontist. He has a great deal of experience with skulls and with bones. And according to him, they're both essentially apes. They've got small brains. The one over on the left has a brain size of about 750 cubic centimeters. That's roughly half of your own. And he considers both of these to be basically funny-looking apes. Marvin Lubenow, on the other hand, author of a book Bones of Contention, which is a very fine book, very fine review of the fossil record, human fossil record, from a creationist viewpoint, has placed both of these in as man. A researcher by the name of A.W. Mellert considers the one on the left, KNM-ER1470, to be an ape, and the one on the right, the ZKD skull, to be a man. And an author I've become familiar with on the net by the name of David Menton considers the one on the left to be male, a man, and the one on the right to be an ape. So I'm getting confused by this because I've read 4 well-accredited creationist authors, 4 opinions that they have, and I get all 4 possible combinations of which one is an ape and which one is a man. If you read an essay by David Menton, a PhD scientist in Kansas City, Missouri, called The Scientific Evidence for the Origin of Man, very short essay, it says, there were only small eyebrow ridges, no crest, and a domed skull typical of a human. This is the one he's talking about. Indeed, it appeared to be a human skull. Walter Brown, on the other hand, whose book, In the Beginning, is available for sale over there, on page 12, states that this animal clearly had ape-like proportions and should never have been classified as man-like. So on Dr. Hovind's website, he sells Martin Lubenau's book, who states that both skulls are human, and Jack Cuozzo's book, who says both are apes. Now, I certainly believe in not exposing people to fraudulent information, but the problem is either that one's incorrect, or that one's incorrect, or both of them are incorrect. At least one of these must contain false information and therefore should not be placed into school libraries or used as discussion material in accordance with this law in Arkansas that they're trying to get passed. So what I'd like to know is what are the criteria by which you can decide